Before Chav Sign base, mostly I got it to tonight. Let's see if we can get through two blot here because they're long. Halacha base, yes. If they found a merit for the person who was supposed to be put to death, but true they let him off the hook. If not, it goes out to be stoned. And the notice will go out in front of it. Each player ben play so and so the son of so and so Yotzi the circle is going to have to be stoned out. Avera plays that he commanded that he transgressed so and so Avera. Who plenty and so and so and so and so as witnesses. Anybody knows any merit for him, it should come and testify to that merit. Tani, we learned. Now this one actually had back in Baba Kama. And it says that'll come up in a moment. Tani Shora Yertili Sokel and ox which is going to have to be stoned. The Edom were found to be Edom Zomim. So Rabbi Yochanan said the owner already gave up hope on getting it back. So anybody takes it first, he gets it. Rish Lakish said Hefker Tosu. No, it's not true Hefker because it was under the mistaken impression that the ox was going to be killed. It turned out it wasn't going to be killed. So to a slave which is going to have to be stoned. And his owner made it hektish. Now the Mechamaim and the Korban Ha'edah changed gears here to Venim to Eid of Zomim to make it parallel to last case. The Edom were found to be lying, and therefore he already gave up hope, and as a result, it's we have same machlokas. Rabbi Yochanan says he acquires himself since he goes hefker. If he's hefker, he goes free. He gave up hope erroneously. But the back when we learned Baba Kama, we did mention that there where the Girsa isn't it, the Nimtza Edom Zomim, there's a whole kasha there, and Galina Shas, he asked, how can you give up hope from getting your Evet? He can even serve you on the way to the gallows, right? He can do stuff for you. So therefore, actually, and there are Samech that talks about, and he actually prefers this Girish of Yekdisha Baila. So really don't give up hope. What you might do is make it hektish, and the question is whether that hektish was a mistake or not a mistake. Okay, so it could be either version can work. The version of Yekdisha Baila, in lieu of Yeush, or Nimtzu Eid of Zoymim, and then the issue would be, if the Edom returned out to be Zoymim, whether Yeush Tos would be a proper Yeush or not.
Why don't you need a second example?
You wouldn't. That's what you're right. That's why it makes sense. That's why the Girsa in front of us does make sense. When you learn Baba Kama, I was inclined towards the Girsa which we have in front of us here.
What's the purpose of making the Yesh? I mean, he's making Yesh, but...
I think it's might as well,
What, he's going to donate the...
That's the flaw in that Girsa. That's the flaw in that Girsa. No, I guess after Gemara did whatever he would make between now and the time he's executed. Yeah, he long time. But you're right. Each Girsa has problems and has advantages. Rolling basis if he's more when he's 10 amas away from the bed from being stoned, normally they say he's badeg say vidui. Shkein there call Muslim misvadim. Anybody who's killed should say confession. But he confessed as a portion of the world to come. We found by Ochon. Yeshua said to him, B'ni, my son, so give honor to God, the Lord of Israel. So don't give a confession. And tell me, so what you did, do not hide a thing for me. Respond to Yeshua, and said, indeed I sinned. So to God, Lord of Israel. I did such and such. I don't know that it is vidu atone for him. It says, Yeshua said, why have you muddled us? Right, because this is sullied us, perhaps is a better translation. Hashem should sully you today. And we darshan that, today you are sullied, but not the world to come, because your death is a kapara for you. If he does not know how to confess, he's kind of dumb. Say more, just say, may my death be atonement on all my sins. Maybe it says, if he knows that Eidim Zomim might come, in other words, he knows that his conviction was a frame-up and that they were lying, Yomar, he may say, may my death be a kapara on all my averos, except for the sin. Amrlo, so they said him Cain. If that was the case, you call them Amir Cain. Everybody will say that, even though it's not true. That's in order to exonerate themselves, in order to safeguard their reputation after the death. So therefore, they claim we don't allow a person to say that. Ad Motze, you find. Now, there's of course, I have to give a disclaimer that the Gemara tonight we're going to learn tonight. Most of them have parallels elsewhere about in Yerushalmi, but I prepared most of this on the road and at the last minute to be completely honest and above board. So therefore, you will not be getting the full benefit of comparative studies. Okay, at Motze, you find Shemol Ochan B'Cherem, when Ochan committed Me'ilah against that Cherem, against there was what happened was that when they conquered Yericho, they placed a ban on anybody deriving any benefit from any of the captured goods, and Achan went and he did it nonetheless, right? Amotzik Shamal Achan B'Cherem, when he committed this act of Ilah, and then several Jews died in the first abortive attempt to conquer Ai, 36, and some say 36. Gemara says in Sanhedrin. Some say 36 was corresponding to Menashe, the Mocher ben Menashe, who was killed, who was corresponding to the majority of Sanhedrin. But Bida has made there were deaths in battle. So it's Chilishim in face of Ne'akosh Baruch Hu. So Yeshua started appeasing Hashem. He said, and he said, Rebbeinu Shalom, Odeni Mizaish. Tell me who's responsible. HaKadosh Baruch said, Eini Mefarsin Kol Bira. It's not my responsibility to, it's interesting, Hashem says, it's not my responsibility to publicize anybody. Not only that, interesting, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, sounds like a very strange frumka in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's part, but he says that I'm not telling Lashon Hara. In other words, this is for you to find out, right? It's not my job to expose criminals. Which is an interesting concept. Okay, one could probably have some theological discussion there, but we're not. What you should do is stand Israel tribe by tribe, and make lots. Immediately I will smoke them out for you. I'll find them out for you by identifying him. Yoshua got up early in the morning, and he drew armies so close, according to its tribes, and he cast upon lots. I went back, sorry. And there was captured in the lottery Ochan ben Karim ben Zerach from the tribe of Yehuda. Amalei Ochan of the Ochans made lie of the girl, said, Ma b'gorel tachopseni, what, you're going to find me through a girl? Leis b'chol ein dora kosher atu pinchos. There's no greater, no kosher, more kosher person in this entire generation other than you and Pinchas. Bring up in Nivzin, the territory so transgression to Tzavin. Draw lots between the two of you. Fantos, which the oral says is Greek for definitely. In other words, it depends always who the pool of the lottery is. In other words, in a large pool, anybody come out. A small pool, it would only be eeny, meeny, miny, mo, right? So who says I'm the one? That's the way lotteries work. Somebody had to be, of course. So v'lo, not only that, Moshe Rabbach, Moshe, your Rebbe, Leis men mechel tlosin, or Boin Yom, is only dead for 30 or 40 days. The Shadizol says it was no less than 46 days, but obviously 30 or 40 means, approximately, right? Lochen Alpha and Moshe Rabban did Moshe Rabbeinu teach us Al Pishnayim Eitim, right? But based on two witnesses. So Risa taught you because you're beginning up with a mistake. So it's both in short, Safi Yoshua Baruch Hu, that time Yeshua gazed and saw with divine prophecy, Shumachakis Li Yisrael Esau Oretz Begorol. He's going to divide up Eretz Yisrael to the Jews by lot. Although Sivas says, "Vayashlech Yoshua Garol." Yoshua cast for them a lottery. And more if that's the case, he says, if Yoshua thought to himself, if I follow what this fellow is saying, Anu Motzim Shema also going to say going to spread bad rumors about the effectiveness of lotteries. Below not only that, if we sustain his protestations now, if we sustain the lottery now, Then you call something that Am Yisrael will all say, "B'nei Fashos Niskaim who by capital crimes, the lottery work, Koshkim Dimno, certainly by monetary matters, the lottery work, and vice versa. Mean Baflu Achshav. If now we're going to sustain Achon's complaints and cancel lottery, you call something all of Am Yisrael will say, if by Dina and Fashos Baflu, by Dina and Fashos we cancel the lottery. And even a Kosh game by Din Moshe, we have to disregard a lottery by Din Momris. So he go ahead and ask what the Kosh game is. Maybe by Din Fashos we don't rely on lottery, but by Din Momris we would rely on the lottery, right? Maybe by capital crime we don't rely on lotteries, but by monetary we would. So I think the answer is that obviously Am Yisrael would assume that there's a special hashgacha pratis in the Goro by Din Fashos. And if nonetheless, if that Gorol Din Nefashos does not work, so Kavachomer Gorol Din Moment still assumed doesn't work. Because the Gdar Hashgacha is not present in a capital crime, it's certainly not going to be present in a minor issue. Of course, we know, but there's the by Yoina, they threw him into the sea based on Gorol as well, right? And the Sefer Chassidim actually says that Gorol is an effective tool in being done Din Nefashos. I don't know exactly how you do it in all cases, but he learns from these Gemaras that one actually can use it. Anyway, be that as it may, so Yeshua started persuading, both Yeshua, I skipped a couple words. At that time, Yeshua began to try to persuade Achan. And he made it to claim, take an oath by God of Israel. But he said to him, listen, B'nai, my son, sim no kavod Hashem l'keitzel, give honor to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vayan Achan es Yoshua. Achan responded to Yoshua, Vayom, and he said, Omna, it's true. Ma Omna, what is Omna? Kushta, it's true. Anochi chatasi Hashem l'keitzel, I sinned to God, Lord of Israel. Now, it says there, that Achan says, Kazos v'kazos asisi, I did this and this. Now Yeshua said, Ma'ana boy mina chara. What did I ask you to about? I only asked about one thing. You're telling me about a second thing? Now Yeshua was going to let him off the hook for the chayim of Yericho. But Achan himself tripped himself up because he admitted to other crimes as well. And Yeshua said, why are you telling me more? Don't tell me more. No Miranda rights, right? But the problem was that we don't have Miranda rights, right? Anything you say can... He had what? What? That's not by Din Malchus. That's only by Din based in. But Din Malchus doesn't work that way. Yeshua was done if Yeshua judged him based on Din Malchus. So we don't have anything you say you can incriminate on that basis. He gave partial immunity here, but he didn't give full immunity, right?
Yeshua's going to let him off the hook, not
yeah, was going to let him off the hook if all he did was Yericho. But Achan then confessed more. I did already a Me'ilah, I transgressed and derived and stole stuff in the Cherem of Midyan, in the Midbar. Of Cherem Yicho and Yicho as well. Alright, Tanchum said more that Bar Bocharami he transgressed 4 Charami, was basically kleptomania. B'Cherem Kanani, Melech Arad, Cherem back of Kanani, the king of Arad, Cherem Sichon V'og, and Cherem Midyan, Cherem Richo, every Cherem they had till now. How do we know that his veto worked for him? Shneimar says, Ubnei Zerach, the children of Zerach, were Zimri and Esan the Gomer. And we had that, even though it doesn't say Achan there, we said we dash in his presence. Zimri say Achan. Zimri is Achan. Also Maisa Zimri, because he acted like Zimri, the from the tribe of Shimon, who committed that sin by Shittim. Now Achan was like that he committed a public crime, not public crime, but committed a crime which affected all of Am Yisrael. So he's called Zimri. Rabbi Shlomo Nachman Amar, Haman, another one of the sons in there, Haman is Achan. Haman is like emunah, trust, or like truth, and Amna is also trust or truth, And he said, in truth I did sin. That was what Achan said. So Kula Chamisha, it says all the children of Zerach, including Zimri and Haman, whichever one is Achan, they are all 5. Where they can't count, they don't know that to buy them. And Malami teaches us teaches us that Achan also has a portion to the world to come. Okay? Period. There's a case a certain individual was going to have to be killed, and he was well, actually, I'll take that back. Just glad I was about to say it. Comes up later on. Say, may my death be an atonement on all my sins. May my death be atonement on all my sins. Except for this Avera. If I did it, Ayum Choli may not be forgiven to me. Who based in Yisrael Yenoki, but I let Basin off the hook because they were misguided. When the man came to Chachamim, Zoga named, their eyes cried. Amr was a very strange story. Amr, they said, Lach zero Efshar. What? If I did it, it could be right. I think that's what the Gemara actually says in Sanhedrin in the Bavli. It could be right. That only if I did it, they're not but otherwise they'll be liable. Anyway, they start crying. Amalek said, very strange. They can't take him back. Because then there is no end to the matter, because then all of our legal processes will be overturned. So, never, it's the witness's fault, not our fault. But it's a very strange thing, because you figure, you're not going to kill somebody based on keeping a legal procedure intact, right? And you could elect the president based on that, but not kill people. So, but that's what they did. Now, this fellow who was going to be out to be killed, as I started saying before I waited till now, was the son of Shimon ben Shetach. And this story is, I don't remember it's brought down explicitly in the Bible, but I think it is more or less there explicitly. And it's based on the following. Actually, we're going to learn more about it later this evening, but right now, Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai, Arab and Achoma. May I see the salvation, which is the language of an oath. If I did not kill an Eid Zomim, meaning I did kill an Eid Zomim, in order to repudiate the Sadducees. The Sadducees say Eid Zomim is not killed until he actually causes somebody to be killed. Nefesh tachas nefesh, right? The soul for a soul. But we paskin, it's only if they didn't kill. If they didn't kill based on the say-so. So I killed Eid Zomim to prove that that's the case, before he actually caused the death. Amr lo Shimon Shetach said, Arab and Achoma. He took an oath. Lo malim elach kilu shafachta dam naki. If they don't count the Shemayim as if you spilled innocent blood, because at that he killed one witness, Yehuda ben Tabai. And the halacha is Eidim Zomim, you need both witnesses, and he had a single Eid Zomim, not a pair of Eidim Zomim. So both the Shokibulav Shlo Yira El Mi Pishat Shimon Shetach. That Yehuda ben Tabai said about himself, he's not going to pass unless Shimon Shetach signs on with him because he saw he did something wrong. Now Shimon Shetach had hot hands. Hot hands meaning he was very, very, it's not clear exactly the translation, but it means that he was very, zealous in fulfilling the Ratzon Hashem, and as we will see in a few moments, he killed 80 witches in one day in Ashkelon. The story Rashi brings down in Gemara Makkos. What? Itchy trigger finger. It's also here in the Sanhedrin. So the relatives are upset. Asasiya, the relatives of the witches. This is the Harry Potters of the day. So Asasiya Sleitzanim. So a group of scoffers came. They said, "Hovo eitz and yisod. Let's take a plot and let's testified Shimon Shetach's son that he was liable to death penalty. We're going to have his son killed. Asida Lovi, so they testified on Shimon Shetach's son, and he was a fellow mentioned on top. Benigma Din Larg, and it was possible he should be killed. When it's going to be killed, Amalei, the witnesses finally said, Mori, my master. They said either to Shimon. I don't know if they said to Shimon Shetach himself, because he probably wasn't sitting in judgment on his own son, but it seems that way. And I guess Shimon Shetach then went to the Sanhedrin. They said, my master Shikrin, or our master Shikrin, we were liars. So the father wanted to plead that they should let his son off. And so Shimon Shetach's son said, Abba, my father, if you want the salvation to come through you, make me like a threshold. It's a very strange statement. I don't understand. In other words, he's basically saying that I'm willing to go to the gallows in order to further the cause. I'm not sure what cause is being furthered. Yeah, I don't know exactly. But obviously he felt that Yerushalmi Sanhedrin somehow had to show that he was not, what's the word? Yeah, he was objective. He was not playing favorites. Not playing. He was no given over, obviously, but he wasn't playing favorites. He was balanced, right? So therefore, he was impartial. He wasn't impartial towards his son.
He's trying to maintain the judicial process, but the judicial process says that these are Aiden Zonin. So
no, they're not Aiden Zonin.
Oh, they just said that they lied.
They said they lied. They weren't proven to be liars, right? So so somehow they want to sustain the. I guess you have to have been there. I guess it's like it's the time of the French Revolution. If one of the members of the revolutionary government had decided they had to kill their child, or something like that. I don't know exactly how you'd find a parallel. Anyway, be as it may. So, that's the end of that story. But he was killed. We'll come back to Shimon Shetach later. Why Shimon Shetach was on the defensive will come up in the next slide. Now here's a very, very interesting story. Not about me. There's an individual. He was going down the road. And he saw two people involved in bestiality with a dog. Okay? So walking down the street. Okay. So, what? Yeah. So you see, we're not told him by that yet. Alright? Things are worse in the old days. Okay, the Alta Titan. So Armin, they said, we know there's a pious individual. He's going to go and testify against us. Umaran David and King David, Kotilon is going to kill. So it's obviously a very ancient story. It's happening times of David HaMelech. So what are we going to do? We're going to go and testify against him. And they testified against him that he had relations with a dog. And he was killed. Now, there are some interesting questions. He says, Midin Malchus, you can kill, a king can kill without proper witnesses. Right? And this chassid, had he testified, he would only have been one witness, right? Which works in Dina Malchus. When a king sits in judgment, he doesn't need two witnesses. No, the flaw in that is, though, the Rambam seems to say that it's only true about when he's being done roitzchim, not when he's being done megali arayos. And these bestiality guys, they were not roitzchim. So he says, it seems in the Yerushalmi holds that even there's Dina Malchus, not just by shvichas damim, not just by murder, but also by Gilui Arayos as well, which is a chiddush. Okay, not saying it's such a big chiddush, but that's what it says here. Anyway, Vusha David Amar, that's what David says. Hatzila micher nafshi, save from the sword my soul. Mi'akev chidasi, from the hands of the dog. My chida, which is part of my nefesh as well. Micherev, what it means to save me from the two averas I committed. What's why there? Number one, Micharev is Micharev Uriah, from the sword of Uriah that he caused Uriah to be killed in war. Mikelev is Mikabel Shel Chosid, from the dog of that Chosid, meaning later on David found out that the death was unwarranted and he felt that there was a very committed. Now, very strange story. Yehuda went up to the second floor of the base medrash. Upstairs in the base medrash, you never could tell what's going to happen upstairs in the base medrash, right? That's why base medrash only have one floor. Says they saw two men involved in homosexuality. Okay? This is unfortunately yeshiva, obviously, right? Armulay, so they said, Rebbe, they said to him, Rabbi, have two Talmidim, I guess, in the yeshiva, have daitcha. Take note. Da'at chad, you're one, van entree, we're two. So therefore, if you're quiet, things won't go well. But if not, the two of us are going to collude and testify against you. And what happened to that chosid back in times of David, so what's going to happen with you now.
They knew that story.
They knew the story, yeah. Okay? So that happens when you learn Yerushalmi. Okay. Allah doubt. Rachel basis skill when he was distant from the stoning station, Arab Amos, 4 Amos away. Hayim Mapshita is God, they said they removed his clothes. H Mechassid saw Milfana of a man, they were covered in front of him. Vaisha and a woman, Milfana Mechra from the front and the back. Did Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Chacham Mechon say Ish Niskal Aram, a man is stoned naked. Then Ish on this clothes, when she wears a plain garment when she's stoned. She's not stone naked. Mechaber she tells Rabbi Yehuda, sees a contradiction. There he says by his sota, if she had nice hair, by his sota they wouldn't uncover it. The Kol Maracheni here he says we make her naked to stone her. Harcha says more here, become Kolmisaz. She's going to die no matter what. She's going to splatter, so therefore there's not such a Torah. But over there, if she's found to be a Torah, then the young Kohanim will be attracted to her, so therefore we don't reveal her hair. And vice versa, it seems Rabbanan contradict themselves. Taman there, Omar Ish Niskal, when they say a man is stone naked, meaning by us, they say a man is stone naked, they Ish Niskal, woman, not a woman. The Kohen by Soita, they say, we do uncover hair in public. Says here, by V'aftarecha Kamocha teaches us, always choose a good way to go for your victims. And women would rather go modestly than go quickly. Men would rather go quickly than modestly. But over there, we have to afflict them in order to give mussar to other women, and therefore we do dishevel her, the greater public. The stoning station was 2 stories high. And one of the witnesses pushes him on his hips. If he turns on his heart, meaning he's upside down, if you turn him on his hips, he's turning right side up. If he died by being pushed, you're yoytze. If not, you take the second witness, takes the stone, and also and throws it on his heart. If he dies that way, that's fine. Oh no, that's the first witness, sorry. If not, the second witness takes a second stone, and also and throws it on his heart. If he dies of that, if not, any Jew can stone him. Shema says, the witnesses begin, and kill him, and then the other witnesses, the rest of the nation joins in. Now, I seem to remember in the Bible it says you tie a stone on him when you throw him down, but here it doesn't say such a thing. Okay, so just throw him down, if necessary, throw stones at him afterwards. Tanya we learned. The stoning station itself is 2 stories high, and then you have the height of the individual who's about to fall. Hare, it should be shlosha, that's 3 altogether. Here it says in this question about as well, together with the highest height, hare, it should be gimel, it's 3 heights, right? Or which is 3 times 4 amos at least. 3 times 3 amos at least. In a whereas in a pit which is going to cause damages. Amar, it said we learned also this bakama. Up to 10 fachim doesn't kill, but 10 fachim does kill, right? So much less than 9 amos already kill somebody, right? So it says more. Now the Bible gives a different answer, but the Yerushalmi's answer is lo domai nofel midas nofel shlom midas. It depends. An animal or somebody else who falls into a pit, it's not aware of what's happening, right? So therefore, he's not going to brace himself, and that's why he can die even in 10 tefachim. But here the guy is being pushed off; he's going to brace himself, and that's why, he needs a higher platform which to go. So the Bible has different answers, and Achronim discuss it. Where the Bible argues, doesn't argue, we'll leave it for now. Rabbi Yosef ben Choli, Rabbi Abdumi, Barbarti, Rabbi Tavi, B'Shem Rabbi Yosha, they said, Ilon l'chavti Torah b'chayle, those who throw down an ox in order to slaughter it in a slaughterhouse, which they used to do in the old days before they had pens, they used to, and hooks, they used to throw it down. Anyway, it's not going to be a problem that the internal limbs might get broken up. Beyond why, because the ox knows they're going to push it down in order to slaughter it, and therefore it braces itself. They push down an ox with strength in order to shecht it. Arm alone, so he said to them, in your lives, in other words, it was kind of language of an oath. Sharune, release the ox, because you have to see if the ox was not damaged by throwing it down. Sharune, so they released the ox. Komvarak and the ox cut up and ran away. I said, Baruch Shebachar b'Chachamim Divrei, said, blessed is God who chose Chachamim and their statements. They said the Elon the Chavtin Torah b'Chele, that those who push an ox with strength in the Shlachtos Emo B'Shum B'Skrevar doesn't destroy its internal organs, because we see that that's the case when this ox will run away. Now the next few lines, Shat Yisrael has a different girsa, which may make more sense than the girsa in front of us, but I'm not going to bother. It gets too complicated. How do we know that skila is required? Shneimar says, Sokoi Sokel. Obviously it says in several cases in Torah, Sokoi Sokel. Stone, you should be stoned. How do you know that we push the guy off the roof, though? Shneimar says, shot, he shall be shot. So shot means he's pushed off the roof. That is pushed twice, that is pushed once, and then he throws stone on him. Extra yud, that means there's 2 shootings. Okay? Anybody who is stoned is hung afterwards. The Rabbi Lezer say not true. Only a person who blasphemes, but a Zora, and somebody who worships idolatry. A man is hung whose face towards the people. The woman is hung with her face towards the tree, the pole actually. The Rabbi Lezer. Man is hung, and this woman's not hung at all. This is the deed which led to his son's demise on Amrav. He hung witches in Ashkelon. They said, Shmonim Nashim Tole. They said, even though he hung women there, those 80 witches in Ashkelon, he hung 80. And they're all in one day, which is obviously a special Rosh Hashanah. Normally you don't hang, you don't judge 2 in one day. So that's special Rosh Hashanah, you can't infer from that to other cases. My time, Rebbe Lezer, what's the logic of Rebbe Lezer who says that all those who are stoned are hung? Because if a blasphemer who's stoned is hung up on Yavi, so do I infer Sharkol is cloned, anybody else who's stoned, Shunilim is hung. My time, Rabbi, why Rabbi say only a Megadef, there is only a blasphemer and an idolater? They say, just like blasphemer because he extended his hand against the primary cause, against Kosh Baruch Hu, he is hung. So to as to any other person who extends his hand against the primary tenet of a Kosh Baruch Hu, meaning it's Avodah is hung, but not anybody else. East Tani, getting back to Yeshua, Yehuda ben Tabai Shimon Shetach. Now this again we had back in Chagiga, but I didn't look it up. Those who until Yehuda ben Tabai Nasi, Yehuda ben Tabai was the president of the Sanhedrin. Those that Shimon Shetach Nasi was the president of the Sanhedrin. Madamar Yehuda ben Tabai Nasi, who said Yehuda ben Tabai was Nasi, was because Alexandria Misayela, the story that Alexandria helps him out. The story there in Chagiga says that Yehuda ben Tabai didn't want to become Nasi, and he fled to Alexandria, and they sent a letter from Egypt from Israel to Alexandria, which said, Yerushalmi, the people of Yerushalayim wrote a letter to Alexandria from Yerushalayim the Great to Alexandria Haktana, to Alexandria the Small. How long will my husband be amongst you? And I'm sitting desolate in my house. So Yehuda ben Tabai came back, and according to this version, became Nasi. The Shimon Shetach was the head. He brings through from the case of Ashkelon, which is the case we're about to learn, and the case which led to Shimon Shetach's son's death. It's a long story. There's two students in Ashkelon. Used to eat together, drink together, used to learn Torah together. One of them died. Nobody came to give chesed to his levaya. Misbar Mayan Muchsin, so a certain individual is a tax collector in Yana Diyoma. He died on the same day, or shortly thereafter, and everybody stopped working in the entire country in order to do him the ches comes to Zavaya. So the surviving students started crying. But said, "Vai, whoa, maybe Sunday Israel means the enemies of Israel, but to euphemism. Maybe the Jews have no merit because they go to tax collectors levites, but not to Talmidei Chachamim's levites. So Yitzcham le'bechama. So his deceased Chavrusa came to him in a dream. Amar lo, and he said, "Lo tivsei b'nei Marach, do not degrade the children of your master, the children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu." It was b'siyata d'shmaya. Dein of echad zachu. The tax collector did one meritorious deed. And he got his reward with this great levaya. The day of the chayv, and I committed one avera. And I got my punishment with this unattended levaya. What negative thing did he do? Chas lov in chayvim in yom chas shom did he ever do an avera in his lifetime? Once in Tefillin he put on Tefillin Shorosh before Tefillin Shiyat, or took him out of the Tefillin Sekel in reverse, whatever it was. Something minor. What merit did this tax collector do? So against our Chasleit Lovet Zachum, did he ever do it in his lifetime? Elo obviously means Chas Shalom, he should be this should be his reward, right? They should have a nice life if he ever did a real mitzvah. Right? Elizim Nachad at one time, all that he started Arista Lubutaya. He made a grand meal for one of the Roman generals. Velocity didn't show up. So our mate said, no, Yesud Miskadeh didn't have refrigeration in the old days. He said, Yesud Miskadeh, may the poor people come, Yechluneh, and they can eat at Lola Kalka, so it shouldn't go to waste. But not, it's only back at the mitzvah. Be smart, some say have a sagi buch was once walking down the street. And there was underneath his arm chad elko, a certain loaf of bread, one loaf of bread, but nothing fell. Naste chad miskan was taken by some poor person. He didn't tell him that it was his, the tax collector. Begin to lom samkapo in order not to embarrass him, and that was his chus. Now, when the surviving student saw his deceased brother in the dream, he saw him go gardening in gardens, go pardesim in orchards, go mabun the maya, amongst fountains of waters, which is, of course, a metaphor for his reward. He saw text letter, Kaim al Guf. He was standing on the riverbank, and he wanted to get to the water, below Mati, and he was frustrated and couldn't get to water, which is obviously symbolic of his punishment. And once he was seeing people in Shamayim, Miriam Bas Ali B'Tzolim. He saw Miriam, the daughter of the onion leaves, obviously not such a great woman. Talia Bechite Bizaya. She was hanging by her breasts. I don't know exactly what that metaphor meant, but she was hanging there. And some say, Tiras Kenu Kavakune. The hinge of Ganem was swinging in her ear. Okay? So like creak, creak, creak in her ear. So he said to Miriam, he said, how long is this punishment going to go on? Amrle, so she said to him, or somebody said to him, until Shemin Shetach comes to Gehenim. And they're going to take it out of her ear. You have to wait your turn to get the hinge of Gehenna in your ear. Obviously, there's something profound here, right? He said, what did he do wrong, They said, he took an oath. He said, if I become the Nasi, from here we see Shimon Shetta seems to have become the Nasi, I'm going to kill all the witches. And we made him a Nasi. They made him a Nasi. He didn't kill the witches. So that's why he's next in line. The Ella, or it should be V'svar Macher V'ha, which makes more sense. V'ha is Tumni Nashim B'Maris Ashkelon. There are 80 women in the cave in Ashkelon. Mechablin Alma, which are destroying the world. Zilu Marley. And they told this time Mechocham, go and tell Shimon Shetach we're upset with him. Armalon, so he said, Gavo Rabbo, he's a great man, he's not going to believe me. I'm just a simple guy. Armalon, so he said, In Bunusagi. They said to him, listen, he's very modest, and he's going to believe you. If he doesn't believe you, take out your eyes, put your eyeballs in your hands. So he took his eyeball out. He put in his hands. Amran, they said chazard. He put it back. And it was equal to his friends. Obviously, a miracle. Now, to indicate, obviously, the Sanhedrin are called what? The Einei Edo, the eyes of the congregation. So, it's in order to indicate that he was doing something wrong. Okay. Also, Marley. So Tam B'Chacham went to Toshim and Shetach the story. But he wanted to make the simon in front of him with the eyeballs. They said, it's not necessary. On the other hand, I know you're a pious person, I believe you, right? Getting back to believing a pious person, you believe that pious person. So, you should know. Nevertheless, I just want to adjust. The other one said a different spell. She brought cooked dishes. Another said another thing. And she brought wine. So they said, what can you do? Right? We showed off. What can you do? Right? So obviously witches were not too bright. He said, be ovid nar. This I can do. Isbi ovid nar. This I can do. Suffer trei zimnin. Umayalochin, I'm going to whistle twice. Umayalochin, I'm going to bring here 80 men bechira. Outstanding young man. The Wushiman again wearing clean clothes, even though it's raining outside. Chade, they'll be happy. Matichon, they'll make you happy. Try to see it's a riot or something like that. Armalay, so they said, Lona Nubai, no, we want that. Came in the offer, once he whistled, once love Shumani, the king, they put on their clothes, their clean clothes. Came to Sinyana, once he whistled, second time, all the they all came in at once. Ramas Lone, so he alluded to them, every one of you should take one of the witches. Pick her off the ground. Below Matzlich Madu of the Gemara says witchcraft only works. Witchcraft only works if the person connected to the ground. So let's go through the ground. And they weren't connected anymore. So Baba Amar who dices pizza, so he tried it out. Once they picked up the woman who could make the bread off the ground, he said to her, Isis pizza, make the bread. Lo Maisa, she couldn't make it. Who Amar, I said, let's leave her. So he said, bring the crucifix and we'll crucify them. I said, Sheila said that then she tried with the one who brought the made the cooked dish. Lo Maisa, she couldn't do it. Who Amar, he said, I said, let's leave her. Right? I said, Chamor. He said to one who brought the wine, she couldn't do it. Lo Maisa, she couldn't do it. Avu Amar, I said, it's even. He said, bring the crucifix. So he did each one of them, checked them out, and then he killed them. Right here, that's how we learned Shmonim Noshim Tola Shem Shetem Ashkelon. That's what we learned to our Mishnah. Was Shem Shetem judge 8 women in Ashkelon. They died Shai Biomechad, even though normally we don't do 2 in one day. Ela Shashot Tzich Lekach. It was just a rasha. Okay? Ketzah told him, how do we hang a guy who's has to be taught? Mishakiness hakor be'oretz, we sink the beam into the ground. And another piece of wood comes out for it, perpendicular. But the guy's already dead. We're not hanging him like by a noose. Rather, you put his 2 hands together, and you hang him by his hands. Rabbi Yosef says you don't actually put the beam in the ground, rather you incline it on the wall. You hang on it like butchers do. We hang him and we let him go immediately. If we leave him overnight, below transgress a lot. It says, do not leave his carcass on the tree. Because the blasphemer, the cursor of God is hanging. Meaning, a totally white sky hanging, they should kill us so shame because everybody's going to know it's because he's the cursed name of God. So to chil Hashem if he's hanging there, so therefore they want to get him off as soon as possible. This is very by somebody who's mechalo shem shamayim, creates a chil Hashem from a blasphemer. So there's a chumrah by somebody who's a blasphemer over mechalo shem shamayim. Megadib, see what's the chumrah? By Megadib, by Lazarus, look, see, it's only overnight. V'chalo, see, by Mechalo, someone goes to Chil Hashem. See, it says, Vatikach Ritzva Basayas Asak is the story at the end of Sefer Shmuel, where David had to kill in order to appease the Gibeonites 7 of the children of Shaul, and they hung them up. They strung them up for months. The Mitzvah Aspaya took a sack, like the tail of Tzor, and she put it on the stones there. Mitchilas Kotzer from the beginning of the harvest, and Nitach Mayim Aleim, until the water started pouring on them. It means they were hanging there all summer. Mishisha even spring until the fall. Mishisha Nisan from the 16th day of Nisan, and Shiva Marcheshvan till 6 months later, 17th day of Marcheshvan. See, it says, I named Yeshua B'yamu Chorvei Tzei Mishavei Mayim Leito. It says about the Gibeonites, the subject of our story, that when they tricked Yeshua to accept them, he made them wood choppers and water carriers. Nichol Eidos. I understand he said that for the congregation. But it says that also for the altar of God. What does it mean they work for the altar? Yeshua hung them weekly. That's what it means literally. What it means is he put them in a state of halachic suspended animation. I'm not going to push them away, nor bring them near. I'm going to leave them in limbo. He eventually is going to build a base on Mikdash. The es daito l'kari. If he wants to bring them near, bes daito Rashi wants to push them aside farther, or push them aside. David came and decided to push them away. But it said, the Gibeonites are not Jews. Why is that? The Gemara is going to explain. Why you pushed them away? I'll shame because it says, it says that there was a famine in the days of David, 3 years. Omar David, so David said, For 3 Averos, rain cease. Let's check if it's one of these 3. Avodah Zarah, Gilia, Rayas, Shvichus Damim. Idolatry, licentiousness, and murder. Avodah Zarah, Avodah Zarah, we know because it says, Penny Yiftel Vavchem, it says, let your hearts go astray. The Psalm McLean says, the chasing the two boats, Shemaim is going to stop up the heavens. Gilia, Rayas, licentiousness, it says, Vayim nu revivil malkosh, rains ceased, malkosh loya. For the rain ceased, and the last rains did not come. Because the Metzachisha Zona Hayaloch, because you had the forehead of a prostitute. Shvichus Dami murdered the Shnema says, Ki Adamu Yachniv, the land flatters the land, meaning that it causes the land to cease to produce. Some say apostate stuck barabim. Same thing is true about somebody who pledges money in public. They don't nice him and don't give, that they cause the rains to cease. The Chesiv says, the siyim v'ruach b'geshem ayin, there are clouds and there are wind and there's no rain. Ki ish misav mata sheker, because people take pride in false gifts. Barak David b'chol
This wasn't the drought because he had made a lottery, not a lottery, a census.
That's one of the reasons given. One of the reasons given, but that's not the reason here in this Gemara. Okay, Barak David b'chol drachav. No, that was a plate. No, that was not it. That was a plate. Barak David b'chol drachav. David checked in all his ways. V'lo motzeh chamem. And not finding any of these to be true. So, he's so sure about him to me. So he started asking the breastplate, the Kohen Gadol, what's the story? The Chesiv says, Vayivakish us me, Hashem requested the countenance of God. All right, bless it says, it says, Bikshu Hashem HaKohen Ve'er, request God all the modest of the land, Ba'Hashem Ishpatopolo, his judgment is so to his activity is, meaning he can do man contradictory things at once. How so? Hashem said, Al Shaul al Beis Adomi. It concerns both Shaul and the house of blood. Al Yerushalmi Sanhedrin, that he smote down the Gibeonites. Al Shaul means Shlos Yismol Chesed. You're being punished. You didn't do the Chesed of Shaul to make him a proper hesped when he dies, and Shaul's being punished at the same time because those two judgments come intertwined, even though they seem to be contradictory to each other, for and against Shaul. Ulubei Shaul, meaning Ba'Beis Adamim, Asher Mises Agrivonim, since he caused the Gibeonites to die, because he killed Nov Irakonim, from which they used to draw their sustenance, so he's liable. Shaul David Kor. So David said the message, called them together. He said to them, Malachim Beis Shaul, what do you have against the house of Saul? They caused 7 of our number to die. It seemed 2 wood choppers, and 2 water carriers. Sofer and our chazan and our shamash. Why those 7 people? I don't know. He said, Matum bo. So what do you want in compensation? So they said, you tell them Shiva Nashim want 7 people, we're going to string them up to God in Givon. So he said, what benefit do you have from that kind of retribution? In Inam Miskatli, just because they get killed. So take gold and take silver and gold. Said, so we don't have gold and silver against the house of Saul. We want blood. So he said, maybe they're afraid to succumb collectively, because each one of the emissaries is afraid, embarrassed to admit he wants gold and silver in front of the other. So he took each one individually. Aviaslan tried to persuade him. Kuminav by himself. They wouldn't accept it. Although the Chesiv says, it says, even though the Kriyus, Ein Lanu Kesev V'Zav, we don't have silver gold. Ein Li Chesiv, the way it's written, suppose the way it's written is, each individual did not want silver and gold. So both are sure, Amar David, that David said they're not Jews. You know why they're not Jews? They don't adhere to the Spindel principle. What's our ultimate compensation? Money. What do they want? Blood. Is that Jewish? No. But that's not what the Gemara says. Were we writing the way? That's what we would say, right? Funny, they wanted to not know about this. Shlosha was obvious to us, right? Shlosha Mataras type is interesting language. It's not in the Bible. It just says that the three traits that Am Yisrael has. But here it says it's three precious gifts, which Hashem gave Am Yisrael. By Shonim, Rachmanim, become the Chasonim. They're easily embarrassed or shy. They are charitable, and they are merciful, and they're charitable. Your fear is on there is fears on your faces. Hashem gave you rachamim. And He has mercy upon you as well. If you're bechon, and He multiply you. Come the chasadim, you do kindness to see. Hashem preserves you the covenant and chesed. These Gibeonites have none of these traits. And He pushed them aside. And the Gibeonites are not from the Jewish people. But Ezra later came and rejected them as well. It says, the same beside their own isolated, segregated cities. And cities and Sichon and Nishva were from the Sinim, which are Gibeonites. But after even in the world to come, this is them. You'll see it says, Vovedo here, the municipal workers, which are the Gibeonites, Yabdu Mikol Shivtei Israel. They were going to serve Hashem from all the tribes of Israel. So we dash that Yabidu, they're going to eradicate them, cause them to be lost from all the tribes of Israel because they don't have Jewish traits. The king says, I'll give. By the king took the two sons of Ritzpah. And it says he took the 5 sons of Micha. It says more, what do you mean the 5 sons of Micha? Michal Basho Loya of Lot. Michal, the son and daughter of Shaul, was David's wife, and she didn't have a child, at least not till the day of her death. Where'd she get 5? And when I tell you, you have to say B'nai Meirav. The children of Meirav, another one of Shaul's daughters. When we lost to Michal, Michal raised them. The Yikra Shimon, they were called by her name. Okay. And then the king gave them the heads of the Gibeonites. Vayokinum, and they strung them up Bahar, if on mountain, leafing Hashem before God. By Plushvasam, all 7 fell together. Shivasayim Ksiv. It says Shivasayim, but we read it Shivasam. Choser Chad. So why does it say Shivasayim with a Yud? Because one of them didn't go. Zem Mephibosheth, that one which didn't go is Mephibosheth, the son of Yonasan. Shespal of David prayed for him, and called him Mizbeach, and the Mizbeach saved him. Armalani, David said to the descendants of Shaul, Hareini, my fellow name is I'm going to cause you all to go before the altar. Kosh Mizbeach Kolto, Reishlo, anybody who is absorbed by the altar, meaning the altar has some tug on it, it belongs to the altar and he gets saved. We name Mephibosheth, and he did this because of Mephibosheth. She'agada b'Torah, who was a great man Torah. Leaving his Zech went before the Mizbeach, and Mizbeach Kolto tugged at him, and therefore he got off. Rabbi Avraham said, I will call to God on high. To the God who literally completed to me, meaning that He granted me in my favor. Hashem agreed with David to let Mephibosheth off. So they were killed in the days of the harvest, the beginning of the barley harvest. She took a garment. She spread it on the rock. What is on the rock? Rabbi Yosha said, she would say, Hatur Tamim Polo, Tzidu Kadin, justifying God's judgment. He is the rock's righteous are his activities. Rabbi Yosha said, Gadol Kiddush Hashem Michil Hashem. He said a similar thing to what he said before, but in a different form. Kiddush Hashem is greater than Chil Hashem. But Chil Hashem, by Chil Hashem, Ksiv, it says, Lo Salini V'lo Sol. Don't leave somebody overnight on the tree when he's being long, because the Chil Hashem. But by Kiddush Hashem, but to make the Kiddush Hashem here, that Hashem would listen to the Gibeonites' plea. See if it says, they hung until water poured upon them. The Mikadish Shem Shemayim, as we shall see pleasantly. Teach us that they were hanging there from the 6th day of Nisan, till the 7th day of Macheshet. For even Shami Omi, the passers by would say, Machatu? What they said, Shishtali Midas Adin, that the Midas Adin was distorted in such a way against them. Or Yormi Lam, they used to say in the passage part, I should push the name of Gerim Arim, because Shaul extended his hands against cursed Gerim, against Gibeonites, so therefore they were granted that retribution. Because he deprived their Parnosa, or according to Yerushalmi, it seems he literally killed 7 of them. Hashem sought to compensate them as they had pleased. And that's Kavachom. The Gibeonites would not convert for the sake of heaven. Demanded their blood's revenge. Those who do convert for the sake of heaven, and certainly Hashem will seek their revenge. Harbe Gerim Nizgarabosim, and many Gerim were Nizgar, and in that period, says that day, but it means that period of when they were hanging there. It says, Vayisaper Shlomo Sanoshim HaGerim. Shlomo counted the Gerim which he had. Vayas Lemam Shivim El Nos have only had 70,000 porters just in the Gerim. Magayer, we attribute that to this episode when they saw the Kiddush Hashem, how well Am Yisrael seeks justice even for the cursed Gibeonites. We shall stop here for this evening.